Fox News alert: the markets rallying this morning after yesterday's brutal losses triggered by new coronavirus cases. Taking a look at the big board there, the Dow up about 260 points. That's actually down from the session highs, but it is in the green today, which is a big difference from yesterday. Sandra.
That green shaded area sort of tells the story today. We started out much higher, have come off of those highs, but still in positive territory. All of this while President Trump is reacting to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's bleak economic outlook. He tweeting this: the Federal Reserve is wrong so often. I see the numbers also and do much better than they do. We will have a very good third quarter, a great fourth quarter, and one of our best ever years in 2021. We will also soon have a vaccine and therapeutics/cure. That's my opinion. Watch, says the president. So let's bring in White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett. Kevin, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
so, Kevin, everybody's trying to make sense of all this economic data, that jobs report shocker that we saw last week, a nearly 2,000-point sell-off yesterday. There's a lot to take in. Are you as optimistic as the president and his forecast there?
You know, that presidential tweet that you just showed, I can attest to it because I was in the Oval for the last month telling the president, hey, we're going to have a really bad jobs report. And he kept telling me, no, it's going to be way better than you think, Kevin. I can feel it. You know, I talk to businessmen every day. And the only person in the White House that got the Friday number right ahead of time was him. It's really true. And I think he's been optimistic. And he's been optimistic because he understands that one of the great policy successes of all time has occurred, that we've responded with a massive stimulus to a massive negative shock to the economy. And we started from the strongest economy ever in January, so that we've been able to basically turn the economy back on and get going way faster than anybody other than the president thought.
Well, and Kevin, the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell has now officially, in the last few moments, it's crossing the AP wire, sent a report to Congress detailing a little bit more from what he had in that news conference a couple of days ago, saying the deterioration of labor market conditions since February has been sudden, severe, and widespread. He talks about small businesses being decimated, but goes on to tell Congress that he will use, quote unquote, the full range of tools to combat the global pandemic. Your reaction to all of that?
Yeah, I think that that's right. I think that the Fed has done a fantastic job responding to this global pandemic. And I think that if the economy surprises them on the upside, then they'll respond accordingly. The fact is, every economist thought we were going to lose about 10 million jobs, 9 or 10 million jobs in May. And in fact, we gained 2.5 million. And the reason for that massive surprise was the massive policy response that President Trump coordinated. And so I think that the Fed has underestimated, they certainly underestimated May's jobs report. And I hope that they continue to miss on the low side for a while, because the surprise is astonishing. Now, the one thing I can say, though, about it is, and it is the thing that as an economist gives me pause as I look forward, is that there's a radical difference right now in the data between red states and blue states. So you take a blue state like Vermont, which elected a socialist senator, their economy's basically closed, even though they have the fewest cases per capita of any state in the country. And then other states are wide open. And so I think that there is going to be an increasing divergence between the economies of blue states, where unemployment's going to be staying very high and the economies are going to stay closed, and the red states that are mostly open now. We've got a whole bunch of states where credit card spending, which we get almost in real time, is above where it was last year already. And then we have other states that are 30-40% down because they're still closed.
All really interesting points that we're all trying to take in here. And you reach out to the average investor, pro investors, whoever it might be, and there seems to be one common question. And when you look at the stock market gains, Kevin, which so many say, well, that doesn't apply to all Americans, or that's not a reflection of the broader U.S. economy. You just mentioned all the small businesses that have been hit. Are the stock market gains to recent highs that we have seen the result of Fed stimulus and that massive policy response from the president, or does it reflect raw underlying fundamentals in the market, Kevin?
Right. Well, we see now that it's the fundamentals. But your question 3 weeks ago, if you had asked me, I would have said, I don't know, let's wait and see the jobs report. The market thinks it's going to be a lot greater than economists think. And then the market turned out to be right, as it often is. And so I think that right now the market is factoring in a very rapid recovery, which is consistent with President Trump's view. And I think as an economist who tries to base his opinions on the best available science, I can say that there is no available science for a shock this large, that we're going to be surprised a lot between now and the fall. fall, but hopefully the surprises will continue to be on the upside. And I think there is no way, like we made economists on average made a 10 million person error for the May jobs report. That's like the population of Michigan, right? And so that right now the models are not working very well, and what we need is somebody who has, I think, the instinct of running lots of businesses and so on to help guide us through it, and that's what the president's doing.
Kevin, what about coronavirus? Because, there was this Bloomberg report yesterday. A lot of people in the president's camp were quite frustrated with the idea that it would seem to be hyping the idea that there was going to be a resurgence. We had Charles Payne on a few moments ago, and he's pretty fired up on the idea that he thinks that because of more testing, we're seeing more cases. But as you know, for 6 straight weeks, we've seen the number of COVID deaths coming down in America.
Right.
What are you hearing from the health officials there about a potential second spike? Can you kind of clear all that up?
I spoke directly with Dr. Birx this morning about this, and there are some embers flaring up in a few places. If you look at the data for Arizona or South Carolina right now, there's some cause for concern. But for the most part, the national trends continue to head down. And it's also another thing that you're seeing in the data is that we're getting much, much better at treating it, and so that the case fatality rate is heading down as well. And so for sure, the battle is not over, but the trends that have been so positive in recent weeks have not really deviated we've not deviated sharply from them, although there are some hot spots around the country.
But still, Kevin, what you've been talking a lot about is there are still a lot of Americans who are feeling the pain of this shutdown and are having a hard time bouncing back. What are you hearing when you talk to Steve Mnuchin and others and the president about the willingness and the need for another round of stimulus?
Oh, for sure. We've been working on that every day and meeting with the president every week about it. And the president's instruction has been, I think, really quite well informed. He says the economy is evolving rapidly. The economic models are really missing things by a lot. And what we need to do is watch the data come in. And then, as we get closer to the end of July, make a judgment of whether the recovery is faster than we thought, slower than we thought, and then design a policy that is targeted for the state of the economy that we see. But right now, I think that any economist who tells you that they know what July is going to look like, what the data are going to look like between now and July with a high degree of precision is feeding you something false. The fact is that we just had a massive surprise on the upside. If we have another massive surprise on the upside in June, then we're going to have a much different demand for stimulus than if it goes the other way. And so the president has instructed us to update him every day on how the economy is doing, what the real-time data say, and we're preparing a plan for upside surprises and downside surprises that we'll pursue aggressively in July.
All right. Kevin Hassett, we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.